go ahead and mix some of these colors that way. Like I say, I want to go ahead and mix up these colors that way I'm not having to stop what I'm doing to mix new colors. I can just move on to the next color, the next layer, so on and so forth. Now, one thing that does make my palette sort of difficult is I've got so many different colors on the palette. And the reason I do that is I don't like cleaning my palette off. It's probably about 8 to 10 pounds worth of paint on here right now. I don't like cleaning it off because then I can color match something else pretty easily. The downside to that is I'm always playing, you know, which paint's the wet paint. Now, I did have someone ask me at one point in time, is there ever a point that I give up and like decide to clean the palette? I did that one time, but this is a wood palette, and that makes it extremely difficult to clean once the paint's dry on it. So no, I'm just gonna pile this up until I can't manage it anymore, and I'll get another one. I even actually had somebody offer to buy one of my palettes one time because they just felt like it looked like a great art piece, and that was pretty cool. So I actually got a new palette not too long ago because I sold the old palette. Oh, so far I've been working on this palette, I would say about a year and a half. All right, if you are new on the WhatsApp stream, I've got these prints available. Just click the shop below. They are available for buy now. Shipping is free. And if you are joining on YouTube or Facebook, thank you guys for watching. I've got lots of artwork available. I do lots of different paintings, and this is going to be my newest one titled Stretch. Which this entire series started out as my minimalist series. What I really like about this series is that whenever I started out with this one, it started out as just a single color background and then slowly over time evolved into what it is now. I just started adding one element and then another element. And what I love about that is that's how most series typically evolve. Sometimes you'll find a series where somebody just nails it right away, but on this one, it started with just doing single color outline characters, and then I started doing chibi characters, and then I started finding characters that I wanted to do full color. I just didn't want it to be a minimalist piece, but I didn't know what else to do with it. And then there was a particular Batman painting I was working on where I threw in a paint splatter in the background, and I just loved how much that worked. So I did another painting where I added two different colors splattered in the background. And then that led to doing, the first one was a Deadpool that was full color, which is right back there in the background. And I added in all the elements that are in this series now, which is the full paint splatter background, all the graffiti letters, and the words of the graffiti describe the character. And then of course I started wanting to do original characters in this series, and that spawned from another series I do of Goofy Animals. which I'm not sure if that's something that you guys are interested in, listening to how a series evolves over time, but that's something I like. I think it's pretty cool. At this moment, I'm waiting for this color to dry, so I'm gonna pop over to this lighter color in the ears. And now that I've got several colors mixed up, I'm just gonna be hopping back and forth from one section of the painting to another while different layers of paint dry. And my main goal and mission right now is to just kind of fill in all the blank areas with color, get a really good coverage, make sure there's no blank or opaque areas. And then once all of that is finished, I can start adding in any detail to the character. So if you're just joining the stream, welcome. Appreciate you guys joining and being here. If you're on WhatsApp, I've got prints available in the bottom corner. Go to the shop and shipping is free. If you're joining on my other platforms, you can check out all my links in my bio for all of my social media and different work that's available. If you got any questions, throw them in the comments. I might see it, I might not. I typically stare at my palette or my canvas most of the time when I'm painting, but I try my best to look up every now and then, see if I'm missing any conversations. All right, so first my main focus is getting the color of the character done, the giraffe himself, getting all of these yellows, these oranges, browns. And then after I'm finished with that, I'll be able to focus directly on the clothes. So if you're looking at the canvas, it's really in two sections. I've got his head and his hands, and then I've got his clothes and shoes. Even though they're gonna be different colors, I see them as different sections. Thank you so much. I appreciate the comment on WhatsApp. Again, if you want to, you can get any of these prints. They are available in my shop below. Shipping is free. And thank you guys for joining on Facebook and YouTube. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Right now, I'm working on Stretch the Giraffe, which is part of my Chibi Graffiti series. And I never know when someone's jumping into the stream or into the comments, so I tend to repeat myself a lot. If I do that too much, I apologize. And this is actually why I don't live stream a lot, because I never know how to keep a good balance of looking at the chat or looking at my canvas. And I get so caught up in what I'm actually painting rather than talking or responding. I did have someone comment earlier, it may be something I try in the next live stream, because I'm going to be trying to live stream more often, especially since the middle of summer, I don't have a lot of shows going on. So the next couple of months, I am here in the studio on vacation, I'm just kind of all over the place. But in the next stream, I had somebody talking about there's an app that you can get that will read your comments from your live stream. So I'm gonna try that out, and I'm sure it's gonna make this a much easier process, because then I'll know what you guys are saying without having to look up, and I'll be able to keep working. Because right now, whenever I'm painting, I feel like I'm neglecting you guys. Whenever I'm talking to you guys, I'm not getting any work done. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. What is up, everybody who is just joining the stream? Thank you guys for watching. Working on getting this painting finished today. The stream is going to go for a couple of hours today, and then I'm going to knock off, take a break, and then wrap this painting up tonight. So I'm going to try and get as much possible done as I can, because that'll mean less work this evening. But regardless of how long it takes, this painting will be finished today, and then we'll join the rest of the paintings in the background. I'm pointing on WhatsApp, so everybody on YouTube is just seeing me wave at my door. There's no paintings over there. But over here on this wall, there are several paintings hanging up, and once this is finished, it will join those paintings. And then the next show that I have, it'll go on the road with me. Now, I will say that one of the most challenging parts of getting this finished today is going to be doing all of the black outlines, both the character and the letters. That's probably my least favorite part of any painting, is whenever it comes to outlining the character, outlining the letters, because you've already put so much work into the color, the gradient, the shading, and then if you slip just a little bit or a lot, you ruin all the work that you've already been doing. So it's just nerve-wracking to work on a painting at that point. So right now, just going through and filling in any blank areas, putting second layers on to cover up any opaque areas, anywhere that white or other colors are shining through. And right now, the main goal is just filling in as much color as I possibly can. What I'd like to do, what I'd like to be able to accomplish before the live streams end, is to get everything filled in, blended, shaded, detailed. That way this evening, all I've really got left to do is outline everything. Which, just throwing this out there, I also have all of my previous artwork available on WhatsApp. I've got 5 prints linked to the live stream that you can shop. You can also go to my profile and look in my Whatnot shop. I keep calling it WhatsApp instead of Whatnot. On YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those other apps, if you're watching from there, I have links available in my bio. So yeah, if you enjoy my artwork, if you enjoy the brand, if you enjoy the weird, crazy characters that I create, make sure you go grab a print for yourself. All right, so now I've got these couple of areas in a place that I'm comfortable with them being in for now. That's one of my downsides of painting, is I end up overworking an area for way too long. I get too meticulous on it and forget to leave it and come back later. So now we're gonna go ahead and start filling in all of the spots on the giraffe. Now this first layer is going to look like I'm not doing anything at all because it's going to be very opaque. But once we get to a second, third, maybe even a fourth layer, all of these areas are going to be filled in with brown spots for the giraffe. Now this shade of brown that I mixed up is actually a mixture of this darker orange that I just finished using, darker brown, and then I threw some red into it. And I was commenting earlier about how I was not good at color matching, color mixing. I was actually terrible at it for such a long time. My favorite thing to do was I would buy Master's Touch that would come in really big sets and would come with lots of different colors. So there was less color mixing to do. You could just grab a green that was close enough and use it straight out of the tube. But then I got a good piece of advice that I like to pass on to other artists and other people that I've met. That is, if you feel like you're not good at something, whether it's artwork or anything else, work on that until it just basically becomes second nature. So for a long time, I was really not good at hands. Hands were something I would try to avoid. I would not put them in artwork because I just didn't like doing it because I wasn't good at it. And then over time, after hearing that advice, I started only doing hands and just practicing doing that until it became second nature, until I was really, really good at it. And then after making that leap of progression, I started doing the same thing with color mixing. I started grabbing random colors and mixing paint until I found that exact hue and found out how to make the colors that I need or want. So now with Golden Brand, I've only got maybe 16 different colors on the shelf over there, but I mix them until it becomes exactly what I need for the painting. Now remember, I typically spend most of my time staring at the palette or at my canvas. So if you leave a comment, I might miss it. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'm trying my best to look up every now and then, see if I'm missing something. If you're on WhatsApp, I've got prints available in the shop for buy now. You can just click one of those, it'll come straight to you. Shipping is free. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, any of the other social medias that I'm streaming to, you can go to the bio, find more of my artwork available. And now what makes this painting really exciting for me is the fact that it's an original character. I do a lot of like fan art pieces, I do a lot of original pieces, but whenever I do an original piece, I get really excited about those because it's something that I created. And doing fan art, I really love doing fan art because, for one, I'm a huge nerd. I used to work at Movie Stop. I've seen just about anything and everything, and whenever I'm doing fan art, it's really to amuse myself. But of course, it's always going to be the most popular thing that I paint because whenever you paint a popular character, people identify with that character very easily. But whenever you create an original character or you do an original painting, it just feels like it means more because as the artist, I am invested in this character. Thank you guys for joining. If you're just joining on WhatsApp, I've got these prints available. I probably should have a better camera angle, but if you click the shop below, those prints will ship to you absolutely free. Of course, the prints aren't free, but the shipping is free. And right now, I'm currently working on finishing Stretch the Giraffe. It's going to be a long process today. I'm hoping to get as much color done and added to the character as possible, get as much shading, blending, all of the painting done with the exception of doing the black outline. And after the streams, I will continue working on it this evening until it is completely finished. So if you got any questions about the painting, about my art style, about my technique, anything, just throw them in the comments below. I don't get to look up from my painting or palette very often, but I will try my best to answer any questions that I see coming across the stream. And of course, at the very end of the stream, I try to scroll through, see what I missed, see if there's anything that I might want to answer in a future live stream. So now I'm adding a second layer of this brown paint that I mixed up. And this second layer is mostly to cover up any opaque areas. So like right now, this one that I'm filling in, you can see bits of red from the red background through the spots. I'm just trying to go through, cover that up. It looks like I'm gonna have to mix some more of this brown, but that's okay. Sorry about the silence, guys. Every now and then I get really meticulous about what I'm doing and what I'm working on. All right. Looks like I got a little bit of paint spill on my canvas, so I'm gonna clean that up real quick. There we go. All right, so I'll take a quick moment, look up, see if there's any questions, anything that I missed. So far, I just see that people have joined. If you're new on WhatsApp, I've got prints available in my shop. They ship out for free. At the very end of the stream, I'll go box those up and send them out. But yeah, enjoy watching me paint. I'm getting this giraffe finished up today. And this will be a 16 by 20, which will be the first 16 by 20 in this Chibi Graffiti series, which are all the prints that are available in the Whatnot shop. I keep calling it WhatsApp. I don't know what the deal is. I get so many people trying to spam me on WhatsApp, so just synonymously, it just comes right out. But it's Whatnot, my Whatnot shop. So I will say doing a 16 by 20 in this size is very unique to the series. But I do a lot of 16 by 20 paintings, as you can see on Whatnot. Again, on YouTube, it just looks like I'm pointing at a door because it's a completely different camera angle. But the those are my two favorite size paintings to do: 16 by 20, 11 by 14. I used to do 8 by 10s. I don't really like doing those anymore. They end up too small, and people don't really want to display those in their house or certain areas as much as they want to display a large painting. And of course, you can charge more for a large painting, so there's more appeal to paint something this big. All right, so getting the last couple of spots of this brown filled in, fill up any opaque areas. To you guys, it probably looks like I'm not really doing anything. I'm probably, I could probably do a live stream where I just take a dry brush and pretend I'm painting. But I don't like doing that. I'm actually working on it. So next, I'm going to start filling in let's work on the shirt next. Honestly, I didn't really have a plan for the next areas of colors. I'm just gonna kind of pick one at random, and I picked the shirt because that's gonna be behind the red jacket, and it's gonna take the most layers because it's yellow, which is one of my least favorites. Yellow does not cover anything really. It is, in my opinion, the weakest color because you have to do so many different layers. And that's why whenever I'm doing a painting, if I've got an area that's yellow, I cover that in white. That makes it so much easier. So like earlier, this morning, all of this giraffe's head was filled in with white because these beige and off yellows weren't gonna show up very well. So yeah. Go ahead and knock this yellow shirt out and I won't have to think about it. I can move on to the red jacket. All right, so with this style of character, I don't really want much texture on the character itself. I want the paint to be as smooth as possible. So whenever I'm doing any blending, it's actually going to be shell shading for some of the colors, and then some of it I'm actually going to do gradient blending. So some of these colors are going to fade into other colors, and some of it is going to be a hard line shadow, which is a fun mixture to do on any character canvas or painting. The hardest thing to do whenever you're utilizing both techniques, cell shading and gradient blending, is deciding where to put each element. And it's like I've had several people ask me that, and sometimes it's difficult to answer that question, and sometimes it feels easy for some reason. But I think it depends on the level of knowledge you have of artwork and painting. It's like driving. Whenever you are Whenever you're driving, if you've driven a stick shift before, you know when to shift because you can feel it. So whenever you're looking at a character, you can tell it's going to look better to have that cell shading in this spot, or it's going to look better to have a gradient blend over here. So what you guys may not be able to see on camera from the distance the cameras are is there's gradient blending in the eyelids, and then there's a hard cell shading line stop for the bridge of his nose where it goes from a light yellow to a more brownish orange color for his nose. And yes, I do 90s cartoons. That sounds really awesome. On Whatnot, if you would, just send me a message, or if you go to my social media, which is Art by Sean Day, send me a message and we can schedule something. As you can tell, my hands are a little tied up right now, but that sounds really fun. I would be really interested to be involved. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna try and get some of this texture off of the shirt because I don't want any hard texture lines, streaks, or anything like that from my brush. And since I'm using yellow, I can kind of bleed this yellow, any hard line textures over onto the jacket because that red is gonna cover the yellow straight up. And again, you guys probably can't see a ton of what I'm looking at. Right. And what kind of paint am I using? I use Golden Brand acrylic paints. I'm a huge fan of acrylics to begin with. I don't like using oils. I'm too impatient for oil paint. Um, I turn it into a big, muddy, ugly mess every single time. And I do a series of YouTube videos, cheap versus expensive paints. And one time I was doing Golden Brand versus Master's Touch. My go-to paint used to be Master's Touch because you could buy really large sets of lots of different colors. But once I did the Golden Brand Master's Touch episode, I fell in love with Golden Brand because I love the pigments, I love the quality of paint, I love how easy it is to mix all the different products that they offer. So there's a huge variety. Golden Brand is just a great brand of paint that is also designed to stand the test of time. It's got a really great light fastness. Um, so yeah, it has quickly become my favorite paint, and I've been using exclusively Golden Brand for the past 5 years now. I mean, I still use other paints whenever I'm testing other paints, but I prefer to use Golden Brand whenever I'm doing standalone paintings like this one or any of my series. All right. And I thought I was done with this layer of yellow, but I'm not quite done yet because I completely forgot to fill in the areas of the logo in the shirt. Which the logo on the shirt is actually my own logo. It's kind of a selfless, self-branding moment. But just like whenever you're putting a signature on a painting, I don't feel that shameless about it. I feel like it's a good opportunity to throw my brand out there. Which I get a lot of people asking me what the logo is. It's a square box with two circles, which make a P and a D, which stands for paint and design. And it mostly comes from I used to the name for my studio used to be PD Sean Studios, Paint and Design by Sean. But then I kept getting so many people asking me what does the P and D stand for, and it became such a large confusion. I decided to just go ahead and drop that and just simplify it to Art by Sean Day. All right, so now I've got that first layer of yellow done. I'll go ahead and skip over to doing the red. Where did I put my red paint? Here it is. Absolutely, and thank you too. Thank you guys for joining the stream, by the way. If you're new to the stream, I'm working on Stretch the Giraffe. He's part of my Chibi Graffiti paint series, which if you are on Whatnot, the Chibi Graffiti prints are available in the stream if you click shop. They're buy now option and they will ship straight to you. Shipping is free. If you're not on Whatnot and you're on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or any of the other social medias that I'm streaming on, I also have links in my bio where you can get these prints. Thank you, I appreciate that, and I will respond to your message just as soon as I have a moment. Thank you. All right, so now we're gonna hop over to this red. Red is a great color because it has a high level of opacity. So it's gonna cover just about everything. I might only have to do 2 layers of this red paint. The most fun that I have with red is actually blending the color, shading, darkening, doing highlights, because red is just such a vibrant, bright color on its own. It's fantastic. I will say that was one of my early moments of realizing that I should learn how to mix paints, because red has so many different hues. It's really difficult to get a set of paint that has a lot of different colors of red. And I found out, whenever you are mixing your own colors, you really have to learn color theory, because you can't just darken red with black. It doesn't work for every application. The best way to darken red is actually with brown. And then that led me anyway to ask, well, what's the best color to darken blue or purple, or how to highlight green or yellow? And there's a large variety of answers for each color. Next thing you know, you end up on a rabbit hole and on Reddit for like 6 hours, and you realize it's 4 in the morning. But that's when I first discovered that I should learn how to mix my own colors, and that opened a huge door for me to be able to paint pretty much anything that I want to. All right, so doing this red, I'm starting out with the first layer with a thick red, because it's going to cover all of this color splatter best. I'm trying to find my words here. It's going to do the best job at covering all of these different varieties of color behind this jacket. And then after, I've got to be very careful not to leave too much texture, but after I'm going to go through and add my second layer with a lighter red. I'm going to mix some medium into it to thin it out a little bit, and it's going to be a more fluid. All right, now if you're just now joining the stream, I'm working on Stretch the Giraffe. I've got prints available. If you are on Whatnot, I've got these prints available. They're in the shop. They ship directly to you with no shipping charge. If you are on my other social media, links in my bio, all of my artwork's available. And the goal for today is to completely finish this painting so that I can move on to paintings that I need to work on for CreepyCon, which is coming up at the end of July. So after I finish Stretch here, I'll be jumping over to a completely different series and working on horror characters. So Dracula, Frankenstein, Pennywise, whoever I can think of that would just be a great match for CreepyCon. All right, if you have any questions, make sure to let me know in the comments. I don't always get a chance to look at the questions because I'm either staring at my canvas or staring at my palette, mixing colors. But I'll look at it eventually. You might not be watching anymore, but I'll look at it. And I actually was talking to somebody earlier about how there's an app out that will read the comments to you from your live stream. So the next time I'm live streaming, I won't be able to do it today, but the next time I will probably try that out, see how it works. It'll probably be much more gooder than this. The downside is I use multiple phones to stream to multiple platforms. So right now I'm live on Whatnot, YouTube, and Facebook. Sometimes I am live on TikTok and Instagram and any other app that will let you go live. But if I'm on multiple streams, that means I'm only going to be able to listen to one comment section. But hey, it'll still be better than nothing, right? And got quite a bit more of this jacket to go, but once I finish this, I'll be able to hop back over to the yellow in the shirt. I'll do a second, probably third layer on that yellow, make sure I've got good coverage and that it's not too opaque, things aren't visible from behind it. And one thing that's going to be very interesting is there's also blacklight reactive paint and glow in the dark paint on this canvas in part of the paint splatter background. So I may have to go grab my blacklight and make sure that those aren't visible through the giraffe character. Or at least if they are, it looks cool. Hey, how's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining. If I haven't acknowledged that you just joined yet, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And inevitably, this moment comes in every one of my live streams where I've kind of run out of things to talk about. I end up hyper focusing on what I'm working on and forget that there's people watching me paint. It's a little bit easier when you're doing live painting at a show and people can just walk up and verbally say, hey. But I sincerely appreciate you guys tuning in, watching, being here with me while I wrap up this character. Let me know what you think about it. See, tell me how it looks so far. I've still got a long way to go. But I think it is coming together quite nicely. Also, if you are on Whatnot, I've got prints available that ship for free. Great conversation starters, mementos, gifts. So grab a print and it will ship out as soon as the stream ends. And unfortunately, I just saw what time it is. I don't think I'm going to make my goal today. Uh, my initial goal was to completely finish filling in all of this character uh, with color and then doing all of the shading, blending, pretty much have this character completely done by the time the stream ends. Because once the stream ends, I'm going to go take a break, stretch my legs a little bit, and then come back and do all the outlining. But I don't think I'm going to quite hit that goal. Regardless, this painting will be finished today because I got to move on to the next series. But we got about 30, 40 more minutes to work. All right, so again, if you're just now joining me, thank you for joining the live stream. Sorry, I've also got headphones in, and every now and then a track comes on that I don't like. All right, so I'm almost done with this first layer of the red, and then I will be able to add medium into the red to thin it out, make it more fluid. And the medium that I like to use, sometimes I will just use water, but I'm actually going to be using Golden Brand gel medium. And I like using that because water will thin out the what's the word? Oh my god, I can't believe I'm spacing on that word. Pigment. Water will thin out pigment. But gel medium will keep the pigment intact while still thinning the paint down to a more viscous liquid that can be applied smoothly. So right now I'm having to do a lot of work to smooth out all this texture. The next layer, whenever it goes on, is going to go on a lot smoother, a lot easier. Now, since this first layer of red is thicker, it is going to take more time to dry. Technically, when you're painting, you're supposed to let the paint dry and cure before you move on to the next layer. But it can take sometimes 24 hours for paint to cure. So I usually like to hit it with a hair dryer to dry and accelerate the curing time. But I don't want to blow your guys' ears, especially if you're wearing headphones. You know, I don't want to annoy you with a hair dryer. So today we're just letting time dry the paint. And this is also why I like acrylics over oil paints, because oil paints take forever to dry and even longer to cure. Like you've got to give it like 2-3 days for oil paints to dry before you can even move on to the next layer. Now, I have had people ask me what other qualities I really like about acrylic paints. And to be honest with you, I just find it very easy to work with. Like, I don't like watercolors. I'm not a big fan of just doing charcoal. I like painting. Um, I love spray paint, obviously. That's another medium that I like using, but they have completely different applications. So acrylics is just one thing that has stuck out to me. It's quick drying, it's easy to use. You can, with the right textures, you can make an acrylic painting look like an oil painting. It's really all about technique and skill. That is a great question. I actually have combined spray paint with acrylic paints. For those of you that aren't in the same chat, I just got a question, which was, have I ever combined spray paint mediums with acrylic mediums? And yes, so that was actually one of my early starts in painting. Was I was doing planets with spray paint, doing space landscapes, and then eventually you get to a point where you can only paint so many circles. So after doing about 200 or 300 of those paintings, I moved on to using stencils. So I would do the planets with a character stenciled over it. But stencils only get you so far, so I bought brushes and just really wanted to learn how to actually paint, which makes it sound like spray painting isn't actually painting. It is. Um, but over time, I started doing the spray paint planets with hand painted characters. Like I did one of Star Lord back when Guardians of the Galaxy first came out. So, so yeah, I've done quite a few mixed medium pieces. Now, so far, I haven't found anything I can't really use acrylics for. I mean, it's just such a versatile paint, which is one of the number one reasons I like it so much. You can do just about anything with acrylic paint. Um, the Probably the two things I have found hardest to work with acrylic paints on is obviously clothing. It's not great for that because it will crack over time, and um, it is also subject to temperature fluctuations. So you have to be careful not to let the paintings get too hot or too cold. And actually, whenever you're using a hair dryer to dry the paints, one difficult thing to do is, if you're using a hair dryer, make sure that you're using the lowest possible setting, and to keep the hair dryer a far enough distance away that it's not getting too warm, because if the paint gets too warm, it'll expand, and then as it's drying, once you remove the heat, it'll try to shrink, which means the paint will crack. Like, it'll expand and get stuck where it is, and then it tries to shrink, and it forms cracks and fissures in the paint. And it took me quite a long time to figure out that's what was happening with my paintings. I paint with acrylic a lot. Easier to me, but acrylic dries so fast it makes it. Thank you. I try to I try to use bright, vibrant colors because that's what I really love in paintings. And yes, I understand the whole acrylic paint dries so quickly thing, which is why I actually like using fluid acrylics. That's another reason I really love using Golden brand acrylics. And no, I'm not sponsored by them. I wish I was, but I will still promote them anyway because they're fantastic paints. Um, Golden brand, you can thin them out using mediums or even water. Water will uh, thin out the pigments. but you don't lose any color value whenever you do thin it out with water. But that will keep it from drying as quickly. And if you mean that you have a hard time with paint drying on your palette, there's also Stay Wet palettes. I had heard about them for a long time and I finally tried one and they are amazing. Especially if I'm working on a piece and then I go on vacation. Like I started color mixing my own custom colors for paintings. So if I mix a certain color and I'm worried about not being able to get back to the painting in time before it dries, I can use a Stay Wet palette. And I remember I went out of town for like 2 weeks and came back and my paints were still wet on the palette. So those are fantastic if you haven't tried it. And now if you guys are just joining the stream, welcome. I appreciate you joining. If you're on Whatnot, I've got all of these prints available in the shop. Shipping is free. They'll go straight to you. And right now I am working on adding all the color to this painting. This one's titled Stretch. He is a giraffe in my graffiti chibi series. And regardless, I will finish this painting today. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to try to just add as much color that's needed to the character as possible. I'm going to take a little bit of break when the stream ends, and then this evening I'm coming back to the painting to wrap up all the detail and outlining, and this will be finished by the end of today. If you got any questions, throw them into the comments. I don't see every question. I miss some of them because obviously I'm staring at a canvas and a palette the whole time. But even if I miss your question, I do go through and look at all the stream comments at the very end just to see if there's a question that maybe I might want to answer in the next stream. Which I'm going to try to do another stream this week. I might not get to. I will be going out of town on vacation next week. So it might be a couple weeks till I do another stream, but either way, if you got any questions, comments, you want to tell me how amazing my artwork is, I love to hear it. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. All right, so right now I'm gonna go ahead and mix some gel medium in with my red paint, thin it out. I've got minimal texture in his jacket, but I wanna do a second layer to get rid of any opaque areas, anywhere that you can see through to the background or any other colors are bleeding through. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that gel medium. Now is a great time to throw in any questions you've got. I'll take a moment to look. You use Master's Touch? Well, you said you use Master. I'm assuming Master's Touch, but that was actually my go-to brand of paint for a really long time. They've got great colors, they've got great pigments. I love that you could get like a 80 or 120 set of paint, but where I really switched over to Golden Brand it is a much more expensive brand, but they have a much larger variety of pigments and colors. And the biggest thing for me is the light fastness of the paint, which I didn't understand what that is at first, but light fastness is the amount of time it takes for your paint to degrade over time. So how much is it going to fade? How much is UV going to affect it? Which even with a really good varnish, UV, like the varnish will eventually fade on its own and then UV can start affecting it. Golden Brand has such a high rating of light fastness that these paints typically withstand like 150 to 200 years before the color starts to fade under normal UV without varnish. Master's Touch, I've had paintings with no varnish on it, and within 6 months, the yellow and orange starts to fade. Yes, it is a Golden Brand acrylic paint. Now it's not called Golden Brand, it's just called Golden, but everybody calls it Golden Brand. You can typically find it in Michaels, but if you just go to golden.com, you can buy anything off their website. I will say it is one of the more expensive paints out there. Not the most expensive, but like one large tube, and large being like one of these. Come on, undo. It's a 5-ounce tube of their heavy body. Like one of their reds is like $20 for one tube. But there are a lot of tricks that you can do to make these colors stretch and last a long time, mixing different mediums with them, mixing titanium white or mixing white. Mixing white is really great for extending your color without diluting the pigment. Or mixing white is also great for working on glass. It makes a really great translucent effect. But either way, Master's Touch is still a great paint, and with a really good varnish, it will last a long time. It's just not going to last as long as Golden Brand. And even though I won't be around to see it, I like the idea that it's going to last a long time. Also, I did see a question earlier about if these are my own drawings. Yes, absolutely. I do paint fan art stuff, so I do like Darth Vader and Magikarp, but I draw everything myself. I imagine the characters myself. And this series, this is an original series, so this is entirely my character, and so is the dragon in the corner that you see. That one's titled Flirt the Dragon. So I do original characters, and I hand draw everything myself. I'm gonna back this up just a little bit. And yes, before I paint them, it's my own original art. What I do is I sketch everything out on paper beforehand, and then I take that sketch and I bring it into Procreate, and I play with the colors, and I play with the color theory, complementary colors, find out what's going to look best in my opinion, and then I use that as a reference to draw onto the canvas. The only thing that doesn't come directly from the sketch is whenever I do like the paint splatter in this series, that's all just random. I'm just throwing paint at the canvas, which is a really fun, cathartic process. Any tips for freehand painting? It depends on how you freehand. And thank you, I appreciate that comment. It really depends on how you freehand and what style of your art is. If you're doing like specific characters, I will say when I first started painting with a brush rather than spray paint, I started immediately painting my favorite movie characters, TV show characters. I'm a huge nerd. I used to work at Movie Stop, so I've seen just about everything, and I am heavily inspired by all of those characters. But I was just slapping paint onto a canvas to see, experiment and play around. And then people started offering me, money for my paintings. I was just doing it as a hobby. But people started, offering to buy my paintings. So I was like, okay, this could be a thing. And I started to realize that I'm pretty passionate about artwork, so I should probably get good at it. And I decided to start drawing every day. And now I don't freehand paint as much as I like pre-plan my entire process. That way everything works as smoothly as possible. So I sketch everything out on paper first, and then I bring it into Procreate and uh, do more planning around like the colors and shading and, you know, finding out what is going to work best, fixing my lines if they need to be fixed. And then from there, I reference that and draw that onto my canvas. So by the time I actually get to the canvas, so much pre-planning has been done. I already know what I'm going to be doing before paint comes out of the tube. Versus I see a lot of incredibly talented, incredibly amazing freehand artists who literally just open a tube of paint and they're deciding in the moment what they're gonna paint. And some of those artists just really blow my mind and like do so much better work than I do. So I don't sketch in red pencil. I'm actually a stickler. There's only one pencil I really like. Um, can't think of the brand name, and they're too far out of reach for me to grab. Actually, no, there's one right there. And of course, I've chiseled it down to where you can't see the name. But it's a really long name of this pencil. But I really like these. If you send me a message on any of my social medias, I'll respond to you. I really like those because they have, there's less of a tendency for the lead to break while you're drawing or sketching, or especially one thing that gets on my nerves is where uh, you sharpen a pencil and then as soon as you touch the paper, it just crumbles. It just, that irks me to no end. That brand of pencil doesn't ever do that. So that's why I really love those. And it's just a regular #2 pencil, but it's black and it's just got a much better quality graphite in it than a standard #2 yellow pencil. And also, I completely understand with highlighting being your not favorite thing, if that's what that means. Um, it's like I was telling somebody earlier in the stream earlier today. When I first started color mixing was not my favorite thing to do. I'd rather just grab the paint straight out of a tube and get to work. That's why I really liked Master's Touch, because they sold those sets of like, 200 paints for like $60. So you could just have the paint that you need right there. But then I started getting more in depth into painting and started having to create my own colors for exactly what I needed to do. Like the blue that I was using wasn't quite right. And that's when I realized and heard some really good advice that the thing that you're not good at is what you should be practicing. It's not the thing that you should avoid. It's not the thing you shouldn't do because you don't like doing it. Like, practice it until it becomes second nature. So again, later down the road, I had a commission for painting that had hands in it, and I am not good at hands. I didn't like doing hands, didn't want to do hands, but money's nice, and I really wanted to take on the project. So I started painting hands almost nonstop for a while until it became almost second nature, and now I'm pretty decent at doing hands. It's not something I hate to do anymore. It's not something I actively avoid. Wow, that is intense. Uh, I have more than just red, yellow, blue, and white. I've got probably about 16 colors of Golden Brand. That's one way to get away with Golden Brand being so expensive, is buy primary colors and mix them. But I do still fall into a trap of I'll mix a color and it just doesn't seem to ever get right. And then I end up with a lot of paint I'm never going to use and it gets messed up. Luckily, I haven't had that problem in quite a while, but it has happened. You can do it. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so we're getting closer on this guy. Again, if you're just now joining the stream, I do have prints available in the shop. Those prints are hanging up in the background right here. All 5 of these are available for buy now from the live, or I've got more stuff in the shop on my profile. And the goal for today, for right now, is to just fill all the areas of color that this character needs before the stream ends. I'm not going to get there because I got like 10 more minutes that I was planning to stream. I can go a little bit longer. But by the end of today, on stream or not, this entire painting, well, it's going to be not, but this entire painting is going to be completely finished. And I just realized I have this whole row of his mane I have not colored in at all. So I need to mix that paint up real quick. And if you guys have any questions, comments, let me know. I'm usually staring at my painting or my palette, or they come through so quickly. That's almost never the case, but I don't always see every question. But at the end of the stream, I scroll through, look at all the questions and comments, and I just love whenever you guys are engaging. So even if it's something I couldn't answer in the moment, it might be something I want to answer in the next stream. Oh, wow. So yeah, like I was saying, I realized I wasn't good at mixing paints, so I just wanted to learn how to. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I practiced it over and over and over again, just trying to hit specific color hues. And one thing I really like doing now is I actually got a palette that I never clean off. This thing's probably a good 5 to 8 pounds right now of just dried paints. And I've got probably just about every pigment of paint I've ever used, and I will color match on the palette before I even touch the canvas. So like I've got this color of his hair that I ran out of, I'm having to mix more, and I'm mixing it on top of the color that I ran out of that's already dried. That's my favorite way to color mix. That way I get the exact color I'm looking for. But yeah, just that one thing you're not good at, that's the first thing you should be practicing. Actually, I learned that from a good buddy of mine. I blame him for getting me into selling art in the first place. When I first started painting, no idea what I was doing, like most of us. I just really enjoyed painting and wanted to do more of it. So I did an art show where this guy was set up, and he liked my artwork, and he's like, let me ask you a question, like, why don't you sell prints? I'm like, that's a great question. What are prints? And so he ran me through what prints are, how to get them, the process, all that fun stuff. And he's like, let me set you up with a show and we'll see how you do. I'm like, that sounds great. Like at that show that I met him at, I was literally I laid down paintings on a table, and people were like, how much are these? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know I was supposed to be selling them. So I go and do this show up in Huntsville, Alabama with him, and I wound up doing like $400 in like 4 hours and had a great time, met some great people, and it snowballed into what it is now. So I blame Brian Burks for getting me into painting. Oh, right on. That's awesome. I am also in Alabama. I am located in Montgomery, Alabama. So anybody that has bought prints during the stream, they'll be shipping out from Alabama tonight. But yeah, if you're anywhere near the Birmingham area or in the punk rock scene, you typically know Brian Burks. He's been doing paintings for like 20, 25 years now. Now he does tattoos. He's an amazing artist, a great friend, a great person to know. Um, if there has been anybody that has been as influential once I started learning to paint, it has been Brian Burks. He's been amazing. Nice. I also travel all over. I just got back from Oak Grove, Alabama, a couple weeks ago doing a mural out there. Before that, I was in Oklahoma. So I go all over the place. I've been wanting to do this painting for about 3 months now and haven't been able to because I've been out of town this whole time. Uh, and after I finish this painting, I've got a whole series of new paintings to do before I go to CreepyCon in Tennessee next month. I've got about 6 or 7 paintings I would like to have finished before I go out there. More if I can get them done, but we'll see. I used to take a really long time painting. Now I'm able to get paintings done a lot faster than I used to. Um, like it used to take me about a month or 2 months to get a really detailed painting done. This one I've been working on for about 2 days now. That Darth Vader in the background, I put probably about 70 or 80 hours of work into it over 3 days. And it's actually 2 fully painted canvases. If you take it apart, there's a full portrait of Darth Vader behind his mask. And yeah, I'm always behind on painting, so I feel you. I 100% feel you. Like, I do a lot of Comic Cons, and that's like a breeding ground for great ideas. Um, and what sucks is I was doing a show a couple weeks ago, had an awesome idea. I can't wait to paint it, but I can't work on it right now because I have CreepyCon coming up, and it's not gonna fit the CreepyCon vibe. But it's gonna be such a fun painting. Um, so yeah, I've actually got a spreadsheet that I keep up with where I keep all of my ideas, and I've got probably like 200 or 300 painting ideas just waiting to get done. Not that I hate being on the road. It's really fun. It's really cool. Doing conventions is great. Doing murals is super fun. This is literally my dream job. Uh, but like anything, there's downsides to it. I would love to be in the studio all day, every day. But then I would start missing being on the road. This brown is just not getting dark enough. There we go. Much gooder. Much gooder. Alright. So we'll throw in this color for the mane. I'll probably hit one more layer of this yellow in his shirt, and then we'll move on to his blue jeans. And then I think after that, I will take a break from the stream. Like I was saying before, like I used to take a long time getting paintings done, and I realized after a while the main reason I would take such a long time getting paintings done is I have a horrible procrastination issue. It's not laziness, it's, the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of messing up. And like I tell a lot of people, especially like early artists, anyone that I give advice to, just make the mistake. Mistakes are going to happen. You're going to mess up. Things won't ever be perfect. But they'll especially never be perfect if you don't start. That's my hardest part. That's the most difficult thing to do, is to get started. So once you force yourself to start and get moving, like now I'm able to get a really good painting out of 1 to 2 days work. I also have a bad tendency. I don't do a lot of lives because I also have a bad tendency of getting like meticulous when I paint and forgetting to say anything. I don't talk. I'm doing a lot better during this stream. I'm answering a lot more questions. I'm doing a lot more talking. Um, so that's good. This brown that I mixed up is actually just a little bit lighter than that other brown, so I'm gonna actually use it to do a couple highlights here while I got it. Oh yeah, 100%. Definitely our worst critics, through and through. Um, I tell anybody that'll listen that an artist is going to, like, when this painting is done, I will see all of the mistakes and I will hate all of them. I'm still gonna love the painting, but I'm always gonna think I could have done that better. Um, but I won't ever point out to anyone what those mistakes are, especially a potential client who's gonna buy the painting. But I'll always see it. And it's the same for every artist. Every artist thinks what they're doing is not as good as someone else. And that's just part of being an artist. You see the world differently. Oh, that's awesome. You're saying she's fabulous, but won't do it as in like she won't paint or she won't do live shows. Um, because I might not be a good example of one of those things. Like, my live shows aren't great. They're not like the best. My paintings, that's another story. I will. When I first started painting, I would argue that like my artwork was not great. Um, but everyone gets better over time, and now I confidently feel like my artwork is some of the best artwork out there. Um, I still feel like I make a lot of mistakes, and I will always see those mistakes in my paintings. But you do have to have a certain level of confidence in any industry to try and become the best in that industry. And if you aren't trying to be the best, then you should move on to something that you want to be the best in. I mean, that's um, I used to play guitar, and that's actually one of the reasons I quit playing guitar. Not because I didn't enjoy it or that, I I knew I was terrible. Everyone's terrible at anything when they first start. The first step in being good at anything is sucking at it. But I kept seeing so many videos of people doing incredible, like, guitar stuff, like making amazing music and doing impossible things. I'm like, I will never be as good as them. And so I lost motivation to play guitar. Um, I became less passionate about it. But whenever I see videos of people like doing paintings, and it's something that I know I'll never be able to do, I have a completely different feeling about that. Like, I don't feel discouraged. I actually feel like inspired. Like, wow, they're doing incredible work. I want to support them, but I also want to get just as good in my own art style. Man, I hear that so many times, like going to a show. Uh, I'll be at a comic convention and someone will come up and tell me that their daughter is an artist, and then they show me their artwork, and it's absolutely phenomenal and fantastic and beautiful. And I will tell you right here and now that that is 100% a lack of confidence. Um, it took me a lot of years doing shows and going to shows and having people tell me my artwork is beautiful before I actually believed what they were saying. Um, it's gonna be like that until she looks at her own work and says, you know what, it is. Um, and that's a long road. But like I tell anyone, um, any parent of an artist, any young artist themselves, uh, if you have any questions, I've had so much help, and so many other artists help me throughout the years. I had a good friend of mine that I was talking about earlier, Brian Burks, who helped get me into selling artwork. Um, if you ever have any questions, go to my social media, find me, send me a message, send me an email, whatever you need, and I would love to answer any questions anyone has, now or anytime. And also, if you're just now joining the Whatnot stream, I've got all of these prints available in the shop below. They are linked to the live, or you can go to my bio and view the shop there. All of that artwork's available. If you're joining me on YouTube or Facebook, you can go to the links in those bios. All of my artwork's available there. And yeah, just still working on getting this guy wrapped up. It's not going to happen during the stream because I'm actually going to be getting off of here in just a few minutes. But I will go ahead and start putting the blue in his jeans so it feels a little more completed. And we need, we're going to do the cerulean blue. Yeah. So like any working artist, his jeans are actually going to end up being a wash pair of jeans. There's going to be some evident wear and tear, like the ones I'm wearing right now. I typically wear like older clothes that have gotten rips in them or something, or they've already got paint stains on them, and just basically that becomes my paint rag. So makes it a lot easier and a lot faster to paint whenever you're not having to search for what to wipe your brush on. Mm, that's a tough one, if I'm going to be honest with you. If she wants to do it herself, like that's the biggest thing is an artist has to have the confidence to step out there and show their work. I would suggest what was a really good first step for me was I had a friend of mine who had a storefront, and he was doing a art show at his storefront. He invited me because he knew that I did paintings, but at the time I wasn't even selling them. I was just painting to paint. Um, and at that show, I had such a great response from people. And then I had that friend of mine who invited me to another show. And that's when I really sold some artwork and felt like, this could be a really good side hustle. And then one day, that side hustle turned into uh, my full time. Like, I've been doing full time artwork for 2 years, and easily the best job I've ever had. It's still a lot of work. I probably work harder at this job than any other job I've ever had. But the first step is the easiest way for her is going to be finding a local show where she can just go and display her work and get a feedback on what people think about it. And once she gets enough positive reaction, it will encourage her to want to do it again. And then when someone wants to buy her artwork, it's going to be like a virus. Because that's what it was like for me. I mean, when I did that second show, I sold my very first painting, and the guy was so excited to buy it. I instantly had this thought in the back of my mind. I was like, this is what I want to do forever. Not everyone feels that way, and unfortunately, not everyone gets to that first step where they get to display their work and feel encouraged to go set up again and again and again. And the hardest thing, the hardest thing, I still have, I will go and set up at a show that I'm expecting to be a really good show, and hardly anybody shows up, or the people that do show up aren't there to spend money, they're just there to look. And so some shows, it's like another friend of mine told me a long time ago, another artist said, some shows are going to humble you. You're going to be on a long string of really good shows where you're doing really well. Your artwork is really well received. And then all of a sudden, you're going to do a show that reminds you to stay humble. It's really hard to bounce back from shows like that, where you feel like, oh, I not only wasted time and effort, but now I wonder if anything that I'm working on is worthwhile. And those are the kind of thoughts that artists get continuously. But I would say the best tip, just continuously encourage her, see if you can find somewhere that she can go and set up or at least display her artwork. And when she gets enough really good positive feedback, she'll want to continue to do that. Is it pricing? Um, what what are your prices? So for my artwork, it really varies. And of course, with the economy ever evolving, so does the price of my artwork. When I first started painting, I also didn't know what to be charging, and I was undervaluing my artwork, practically giving it away. Now, I typically try to stay within industry standards. I'm not one of those artists who like goes to a gallery and sets up and tries to sell one of these for $10,000, because I'll never get that. You can put whatever price you want on a painting. It depends on what people are going to give you for it. But for example, this Magikarp and this Darth Vader that you can see behind you, again on YouTube, you're just watching me point at a door, but this has a different camera angle. These two paintings, I put about 90 to 100 hours into them. Some of them I put 60 or 70. So I'll try to do like an hourly rate for those, but I also try to use like a standard rate. So like these two, the Darth Vader and the Magikarp, those are 800 a piece. It's two fully painted canvases. The Derpy Dragon, Flurp the Dragon, that one is 600. It is a single painting. That one took me roughly about 60 hours, so about a week's worth of work. This one, I I was able to complete this in about 2 days. Over the course of that 2 days, I'm probably putting about 26, 30 hours into. So this one will probably be about $600. So I try not to be more expensive than I should. You know, I try to be mindful of what people can afford, but at the same time, I want to get the amount of work out of it that I put into it, or the amount of money out of it that is the work I put into it. You know what I'm trying to say. And when anybody scoffs at that, I tell them two things. Well, for one, art is expensive. It's an expressive, subjective industry. And also, I have less expensive artwork. I have a series of paintings that is just a single color with an outline of the character. There's hardly any work involved in it. And I sell those for like $30 to $50 a piece. They're cheap. But because of that, there's just less work involved. It's not as good of a quality painting as this, which is going to have, you know, a lot of work involved, a lot of shading, a lot of blending, and of course this one's also an original character. I should be charging more for my original characters, but I typically don't. And thank you, I appreciate that. I mostly hear that online that it's good prices. I also am in Alabama, where two things. One, it's a cheaper cost of living. The economy wouldn't tell you that. People are struggling everywhere. But across the board, across the United States, it is cheaper to live here than in Seattle or New York. Also, in Seattle and New York, these paintings would probably be closer to $1,500 to $2,000 for the amount of work that I put into these. And another thing is, we're in Alabama. I'm not going to find people that's going to pay $2,000 for paintings here. Your best bet in that circumstance is to put that artwork in a gallery, and somebody from those areas is trying to buy artwork from specific galleries. But in that case, they want landscapes, they want colonial houses, they want stereotypical Southern art. And those galleries are not going to put Darth Vader or a goofy looking giraffe on their walls, because they know that people from New York, Seattle, you know, Michigan, they're looking for typical Southern art. And that's just like how a collector is not going to go to New York and buy a painting like this if he lives in the South. They're typically going to buy typical Southern art. Yeah, exactly. It's really expensive living anywhere, but typically in the South it is cheaper. And unfortunately, it's because the South also has the lowest income margin. We are the poor states, so that's where you get the cheap art. It's good, it's cheap, and it keeps me fed. So you can buy, one of my paintings that's worth $1,200 somewhere else in the country for $600 to $800, and I'll be ecstatic about it because that's good prices here. Weird, right? All right, guys. I have mostly filled this character in. This is how it looks so far. I still have a lot of work to do. I've got to fill in the shoes. I've still got some red in the back of the hood. I've got the details, the shading and blending to do. And then, of course, all of the outline for the character, all the black that's going to go around the letters, all the black that's going to go around the character itself. And really, once you put that black outline in everything, it just really makes it pop. But for right now, I am finished painting. I'm going to take a break, go make some dinner, and then I'm going to come back to it. I won't be live streaming for the rest of the night, but I will create another live stream I might see you guys at the end of the week, or I might see you in 2 weeks. I'm not sure yet. But thank you guys so much. Thank you. I appreciate you guys joining. I appreciate you asking questions, talking to me for a little while, watching me paint, and I can't wait to do it again. Y'all have an awesome night. Now awkwardly watch me like stand up and lean over my desk to turn this off.